Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is embracing the human community at work. Let's get started with the idea that you shouldn't get good at answering emails or attending meetings, because while it's good to answer emails and it's good to attend meetings and be a part of that, these behaviors start building silos by keeping communication hidden. Every time you send a one-on-one communication via email, that knowledge, that information is only shared with one person. Every time you attend a meeting and talk about something in detail and come up with ideas and share thoughts and everything, that knowledge, again, is siloed to the people who attended that meeting. If you were out sick that day and you weren't able to attend the meeting, then you don't get that information. And unless you publicly recorded the meeting, then this is a closed source way of communicating. The other thing is that meetings and emails don't scale. You can't answer every email if you're getting 200 emails a day, or you can't attend every meeting. If you go to half-hour meetings and you have 40 half-hour meetings a day, then you're not getting any work done. So those two reasons are why you shouldn't get good at it. And again, as I mentioned, if you're creating silos unintentionally, then you're encouraging politics and you're discouraging outside voices. Because how is someone supposed to help when they don't know the details of the project? If they can't get to that information without going through a certain person, now that person holds all the power, and you're running into an issue where if that person leaves, then you've got a lot of stuff to clean up because they had all the information. And that just, again, encourages politics, and that's not a good thing for a company culture. So the idea here is you want to communicate instead of via email, instead of via meetings, which, again, it's okay to have those. Just don't do them all the time. Be more open about it. Use GitHub issues to communicate. Use chat rooms. Use message boards. So as I mentioned, have an open public chat room. You can use Slack, you can use HipChat, you can use Gitter.im. These are all really cool things. There's a ton of open source chat rooms. You can write your own. It's not that tough. But the key things about chat rooms is that it has this history that's searchable. So anybody can come in and look through all of the chat history and see if their question has already been answered. Or if they had this discussion 2 weeks ago with somebody on chat, then they can go back and remember exactly what is said, and without having to bother the person and say, hey, what was it that you said again? They can just do it themselves. It's also really easy for quick discussion, and it's more inviting towards people who need help outside of the team, because the entire team can help out. Instead of somebody having to figure out, oh, who's the individual who I should talk to about this, they go to the chat room and they ask the chat room, and the right person answers it. Or a team member says, oh, that's so-and-so, but they're not here right now, so maybe I can help, or maybe just, ask them again tomorrow, or send them an email, which, it's not ideal, but again, it helps foster that communication. And then the other part of this is that people can lurk, and people like to lurk, especially introverts like me, like to be able to see things without having to reveal themselves, and it's more welcoming, and it seems kind of creepy, but you want people to be more engaged, as engaged as they can be. And if they have to attend a meeting to get this information, but they don't want to commit themselves to something, or they feel silly attending the meeting, then a chat room can be much more inviting for them. So I mentioned Gitter.im. This is one example of the Angular.js chat room, where anybody can go in. All they have to have is a GitHub account, and they can see all the conversation that's coming up there. They can search the archives to see if their question has already been answered, or they can ask it there and get in touch with the maintainers of the repo. So you can create something like this for your project very easily, and it doesn't cost a lot of money, and it's open and out there for anybody to see. Also, we talked about change logs, but you also want to think more forwardly. Also, we talked about change logs, but you also want to think ahead of time and plan ahead of time. And we do this in our projects. We say, what's coming up next month? What are we thinking about doing 2 months from now? That sort of thing. So you have this project status in your mind. Well, why don't we publicize this and make it available for everybody to see so that they don't have to ask us, hey, is this feature going to be worked on anytime soon? Or are you even thinking about this feature? They can go to this public website, this public document, and see it and answer that question for themselves. And one of the ideas that you want to follow with this is work as if you're never going to meet your users, your contributors face to face in real life. Work as if they're halfway across the globe and can't come to your desk whenever they need help. And one example of this is Brackets.io, the code editor that Adobe is building out. They have their project status here, their sprint board, or maybe not a sprint board, but their work board, task board, out for anybody to see. I was able to go to this without any sort of permissions or any sort of credentials or anything. I can see, okay, here are the things that they're thinking about. Here's what the community has come up with. Here's what we have come up with. Here's what we've nominated for what we should work on next. Here's what we're currently working on. Here's what we've just finished and it's kind of in review. Here's what just got released. All of that is public and available for anybody to see. So this is on Trello.com. There's also integrations like Waffle.io that allow you to pull GitHub issues and kind of organize them in a task board. You can also use something like working on .co to publish your status updates, day-to-day status updates. iDoneThis is also another option. All of that is meant to publicize your project status, not to spam people, but to make that information available for them if they're interested. Another idea with this task board is don't be afraid of a backlog that's bigger than your team can ever get to. Don't fear this backlog that's never going to be done. And it's because it's okay to have too much work to do. It's better to have too much work to do than too little work to do. It doesn't mean that you have to rush to get it all done. It doesn't mean that you have to do it all. You can be okay to have work that will never be done, because it's better to track the work than just to try and forget it and pretend like it doesn't exist. You know that feature would be nice to have, but this feature over here would be especially nice to have. So we may never get to that feature, but we've thought about it, and people can come in and say, oh, they thought about it, but you know what? I like that feature, but I really want this feature that they're working on. Another way that you can be open with your communication is fitting in time to write as a team. Do blog posts, do weekly write-ups, or do a weekly hangout and say, okay, here's what we did this week. Share project status, share victories, share aha moments when you realized, oh my gosh, this is because of this dumb little bug. Okay, well now I know next time. Share that. Share your victories, share all of that. Keep a history of why your decisions were made, because a month later somebody's going to ask about it and you're going to have forgotten why that happened or why you made that decision. And here's a great example by one of the maintainers of Ember. He talked a lot about why he thinks server-side rendered JavaScript apps are important, and not for the reasons that other people think, but these are his reasons for thinking that. And it's really great because I get a view into his thought process without having to talk with him at all, without having to know him or having to take his time. I can figure out what he's thinking. And then if I end up going with Ember 3 months down the line and I'm thinking, oh, they got this server-side rendering thing going on, but why? What's going on with that? Then I can go to that blog post and read through and get a very detailed synopsis of what's going on there, again, without having to interrupt anybody or waste anybody's time. Apart from that, be kind about people's anxiousness to get code out there, to contribute code. So say you are able to get somebody to contribute something and they have this pull request sitting there, and it's a big pull request and it's got some really cool features in it, but it's like 1,000 lines of code that have changed. People are, the person who contributed that, they're going to want to see it get out there as soon as possible because, they took a lot of time and they're really proud of their work. And so they're going to be a little bit impatient. And so you have to be okay with that. Don't begrudge them for being excited about doing a cool thing. If you know that it's going to take time to review the code, just set that expectation up front. Go, okay, normally we have about 24 hours to do a code review and get that first set of responses back to you. But this is a different circumstances. This is a 1,000-line file, and I'm I'm heads down on this feature and I really don't want to lose my train of thought. So if it's okay with you, this is gonna take a little bit more time to review. It's going to kind of sit there for a few days. And the majority of the time, people are going to be just fine with it. And they're going to go, you know what, don't worry about it. It's there for when you're ready for it. I'm really excited for you to work on this other feature. So focus on that for now. And the same goes for emails. If somebody asks you a question, be kind and say, that's a good question. I don't have time to answer it right now, but I do want to get this answered for you. So I'm going to set a reminder for myself to respond to it. And if I don't get back to you within a week, ping me and make sure that I remember it. Another concept is to reduce variability, yet embrace it. And by that, I mean reduce variations for things like code syntax or style, or how you do release cycles, or how you do code standards. Reduce the variability in that, because that makes things messy. But you also want to embrace variability where it's important. And by that, I mean experimental work, using a new library or a new technique, or trying out a new code language. Like, embrace that part of the human aspect of work, because that's like really important to people. Their motivation, their satisfaction with their job, their happiness is that ability to experiment and try things out. And maybe it doesn't work 80% of the time, but the 20% of the time that it does work, that's fantastic. And it really spurs people on to keep moving on. So again, think about it two ways. Reduce the variability of the core parts, the things that you don't want changing, but embrace it for things that need to be open to change in order for the project to evolve. Another idea out there that I haven't actually tried out myself, but I know there are really good communities out there, is defining this set of community guidelines. The best open source projects are the best because they're driven by their community. If you go to a conference from Drupal or Angular or React or Sass, and you ask people like, what's the best part of the conference? They're not going to say, I learned so much. They're going to say, I met really awesome people and I had a great time connecting with fellow developers and I felt like a human being. Maybe they won't say that they felt like a human being, but isn't that what all this is about? Like, feeling good about your life and what you've done with your life and all of that. Development is a crazy world, but if we define this common set of guidelines that, hey, here's how we expect people to behave because we want to treat everybody with respect, and if we mess up, here's how we fix messing up, and if we have to, if worse comes to worse and we have to step down, here's how we should step down, that sort of thing. If you look at the Sass language, they have a great set of community guidelines that I think if we could embrace this as a workplace and say, you know what, this is work and we're all getting paid to work, and in theory we should all be professional about it, but we're also humans. So humans have jealousy, they have anger. I get angry sometimes, I get bitter, I get dissatisfied, I get all those negative feelings. I need to not treat them as negative, I need to accept them for what they are, but overall I need to not let them define who I am or define how the project is run, because these are the community guidelines that we're all going to try our best to follow. And this is what we're going to move towards and try to achieve. Because overall, with this project and with your contributors and with your infrastructure developers, you want people who think. You don't want people who type lines of code. Obviously, typing lines of code is part of the job, but you want to pay people for what they can come up with their brain when they go home and they are so in love with the project that they're working on that they can't stop thinking about it. And when they go into the shower and they have that time of alone thought, that they come up with this idea and they think, that's a great idea, let's try this out. You don't want people who are just going through the motions and they can't wait to get home, because that's when they get to stop thinking about this awful project and this doomed scenario for them. Contributors are volunteers when it comes to their thoughts. And again, you can't force good behavior from it. You can't say to people, hey, I'm going to give you $100 to come up with a great idea. You can't force it. You have to foster it. You have to say, I can't pay you anything for this great idea, but you can also get this amazing satisfaction for what you do day in and day out as a developer. So to sum up, there are 3 parts of this. You want to reduce the friction to contribute. You want to reduce that fear that people have. You want to practice empathetic code management. You don't want to be breaking people's code all the time, because that's going to cause a lot of trouble and make you public enemy number 1. And then finally, embrace this human community at work. And the problems that open source projects face, they mirror the same problems that workforces face day to day in large companies and in medium-sized companies, and sometimes in small companies. And really, they revolve more around this human interaction than the code itself. If we can follow the lead of what the open source world has had to face, what they've had to overcome, then we can build a more open, maintainable, and friendly project. Even if the work that we do is technically closed source, we can be open source about it. So that's it. If you've listened to this entire thing, I can't thank you enough. It's a long talk, but you made it through. If you are interested in this topic, I've written a few things about it on my website, and you can go to open.clamp.in, and that's a mailing list that will send you updates whenever I write something new. The newest one that I hope to get out here soon is about changelog communication and how you can build out changelog. So basically, I talk about all of this that I just talked about, but in more details. You can also reach me on Twitter at klamping or via email from my fancy email gif, klamping@gmail.com. Thanks again.